all music fans because they're probably going to tune in and be like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, there's a little something special here. Because, that's our background. Our background's music, and, well, there's like, I was telling you, there's a little bit of crossover there with the other doulas that I met, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah, but you're usually having musical guests or stuff.
They're
least musical person.
Related to music and some crossover or fashion.
So you can go ahead and share it if you want.
Okay. Oh, I guess, do I need headphones?
I had fun last night. I don't know about you guys, but I did.
I bet you did.
I had a damn good time.
You're pretty happy sitting there at the end of the bar.
Yeah, I like to people watch. I'm a big people watcher. I like to see the dynamic.
Would you say you're a professional people watcher?
Yep. My favorite place to be ever is in a big airport watching people from all over the world walk by. It's the funnest thing ever.
Oh, gosh.
Right. We should go out again tonight, Mitchell. Let's keep it going.
I don't think I have the
stamina.
Not the stamina. I don't think I have the excitement, the enthusiasm. That's the word I'm looking for. I don't think I have the enthusiasm to go out and deal with another anticlimactic evening.
You want to turn that monitor away?
I do.
Oh, good. But hey, we are live. Episode 7, right? Our friend Pepper said that most podcasts don't make it past episode 7, so hopefully the next one will throw a big party or something. if we make it past episode 7. Natasha Woodard, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Heck yeah. You are the creator of the Dumpster Fire Chronicles, and you are a professional doula.
I am.
What is a doula?
A doula is a labor coach. I help people have babies, get them prepared for labor, teach them the process of labor, and then when they go to the hospital or if they're having a home birth and they go into labor, then I join them and help them cope through the labor process.
You walk them through it, talk them through it, like this is what you're experiencing, so they don't have to go to the doctor every 5 minutes every time they feel something.
Right. And this is a contraction, and this is how you're going to work through this contraction, and this is all normal. And I'm basically like if you're taking a big test, I'm the tutor that you would hire, and they're taking a tutor along with them to the birth.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a doula.
Because honestly, before last week of hearing that word, I had no clue that was a thing. That seems like something that rich people would do. Like hire somebody to. But I guess I asked my mom about it. She's a nurse. She's like, yeah, it's very, very common. Yeah, a lot of people do it.
Oh, so your mom knows. That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I didn't know what it was when I had my first daughter, and when I was pregnant with my second, that's when I started looking into different things, and that's how I found out about it. A friend of mine had a doula with her child, and I was like, I didn't know this was a thing.
Do you stay friends with people after you work with them? I mean, that's kind of something you bond over.
Right, yeah, it's a very intimate thing, I mean, it's the birth of your child, and some people, yes, I'm still friends to this day with some of the families that I worked with. Some, it's very kind of transactional, like, here, this is done, you've done your part, and we're parting ways, and I never hear from them again, and that's fine. But there are some that even to this day I'm friends with, and we stay in touch,
Cool.
and they send me updates about their babies, and so
Good.
it's a very interesting line
So
of work.
Before we get into how'd you get into being a doula, we're picking up, what is this? You said six years
Mhm.
later. So last time I saw you was at my sister's wedding,
Right.
and I think I saw Krissa since I did see Krissa since then.
Yes.
But you and Krissa are best friends, and that's how. I'm sorry, am I drinking your drink? But
I hope not.
but that's how I came, to from back in the day. You went to high school with my sister, and
Right.
you and my sister and Krissa were all really good close friends.
Yep.
So from high school, where I mean, like I know Jennifer got Jennifer got married 6 years ago, but like from high school, what your personal life,
Uh-huh.
what happened, like.
Oh, you want like that whole
Yeah,
time
let's.
frame?
I want to go
All
back.
right.
I want to get the whole Natasha story,
The whole
starting
story.
like what where did you go from there, and then what happened, how you met your husband and having kids and
Getting into all this.
get into it.
All right. Well, let's see. So after Hurricane Katrina, I left the Gulf Coast, moved out to LA for a while.
How's LA?
I loved Los Angeles. I don't know that now as an adult, well, I guess I was an adult back then, but I don't, that age, 21 years old, I don't know. But anyway, I don't know if I would move back now. It's really busy, really populated, obviously. But I'm really happy I had the experience. Like, I learned a lot in LA. I had great times.
Was it super expensive living there?
It was super expensive. I had a tiny apartment, maybe like 1,000 square feet. I don't even know.
This is you just you finished high school and you moved out there on your own. Like I just want to
Well,
live there and.
So it was when I was like 21. So from high school to 21, I was still here on the coast, just kind of working the casinos, doing that whole thing. And then, my boyfriend at the time, he had gotten into the union, I'm blanking on it. He was with craft service for the film industry.
Okay.
And so he had gotten into the union, flew out to LA, and then he sent for me. That sounds so like 50s, yeah.
Sent for you?
He sent for me.
Sounds romantic.
Yeah. And so I sold my car and I
Wow.
bought a plane ticket and I moved out to LA with nowhere to live, no job, nothing.
Wow.
He had a friend out there. We were staying on their couch for like a week, and then
Right.
we ended up moving into like an extended stay hotel and with FEMA money.
Wow. Y'all were doing it.
Yeah, I was just like, let's do this. And I went and got a job for a catering company that catered to the movie sets and stuff. And the manager was like, hey, where are you living? And I was like, an extended stay hotel in Glendale. And she says, do you need an apartment? And I was like, I do, actually. So she walked me over after the interview and showed me an apartment. So on one day, I got a job and an apartment.
Yeah.
And I was like, see, Mom, it all fell into place. And my
Yeah.
mom is over here like, what are you doing? But, that's youth for you. You're like, I'm just
Yeah,
gonna
but I
move."
mean, you like fucking took it, by the balls and was like, I don't know too many people that's, crazy Sammy.
Yeah.
He went out there. He took a chance on, trying to, play the rock music and get into the scene out there. But
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't really know too many people. They're just like, I'm just gonna take it somewhere else and.
And see, and
you
I'm
know.
probably like one of the only people that moved to LA not to become like an actor or to become famous. Like,
I'm glad you didn't become part of that film industry.
Yeah. You're doing not good now.
right. I mean, I followed a boy. I don't know what's worse, but
Better than following a band.
right.
Yeah.
So you living in LA
Yeah,
and
so-
you're working for a catering service. Your boyfriend's working for a catering service.
Well, he was craft service. He was actually working on the film sets, and then I worked for the catering company that brought them the food. So, yeah.
So you got to see him like once a day.
Yeah, pretty much. Like their work schedules were insane, those shooting schedules. But I mean, I had a lot of good times out there. He worked on CSI New York for a while. The director would have parties. I'd go hang out and see like the whole cast of CSI New York.
What?
It got to a point where it's like I'd go to parties and just be like, yeah, that's so and so, like, not to sound snobbish, but
please.
But after you start
expound
seeing
on these people that you saw at these parties and got to rub elbows with.
Yeah, so that was interesting. And then from LA, I moved to North Texas. And that's where I met my ex-husband, had my children there, and then we moved back here to Mississippi about 7 years ago.
Why did you move back to Mississippi?
Just after having kids, it was like one of those things where I wanted to be closer to my family, and I just missed the Gulf Coast, like I realized I need to be near water. And where I was in Texas was very landlocked. I was up by the Oklahoma border.
Oh, yeah. Where
at? Wichita Falls.
All right. I used to live in Altus, Oklahoma.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Which we went to Wichita Falls to go to the mall.
Oh, goodness.
And we would go to Lawton, Oklahoma to go, to the Foot Locker and get shoes once every 6 months when we had a little bit of money, So I know, like.
That whole... Yeah, it's like brown and flat.
Yes, and Altus was, woo, you talk about, I think it was 1,600 people in the town.
Wow.
We had a Walmart, and they had, I'm sorry, I'm going to talk about my hometown. We had like 4 registers, and they had the 50-cent slushies and the 50-cent hot dogs and the way back when. But yeah, it was very depressing.
Yeah.
Very depressing. Like we had tumbleweeds going through our yard.
Yes.
Straight up. And
yes.
we moved there and there's a tumbleweed going down the street in our neighborhood. And I'm like, those are real? I thought that was only in westerns. Like,
tumbleweeds follow you everywhere you go, don't they?
Yep. It was bad. So I know your pain. Like Wichita Falls was like the big city to us.
Oh, wow. Well, that's really depressing if that was the big city.
And then we moved here and we're like, what? There's an ocean?
Right. Whenever we would come back to visit family, it's like when we'd start getting past Dallas and it'd get more and more brown and flat and no trees. I was just like, I want to go home.
Everybody's talking slower and not in a hurry.
I remember Wichita Falls being pretty windy, like just like windy plains.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very flat.
Very flat, very hot. The summers, the summer I was pregnant with my second daughter, I think we had 100 days of like 100-degree heat or something insane. It was ridiculous. And I was just like, I'm done. Get me out of here. I can deal with the humidity, but that dry, just constant heat was not for me.
not as fun as humidity and 100-degree heat.
Right. It's different. It's
moist everywhere you go.
Call the police. This kid's watching.
So you come back here. Well, or I guess what about what year would that have been? So you moved back with the kids.
Oh, Mitchell, you're gonna ask me to.
How did you meet your ex?
My ex-husband, we met in a bar. I had gone to an art show with some friends, and we decided to go to this little dive bar after the show, and he knew one of my friends that I was hanging out with. And he came up to the table, and I remember, like, looking at him and then just being like, ugh, and turning back to my friends. Because it wasn't one of those, like, on the prowl kind of nights, like.
You mean it wasn't love at first sight?
It was not love at first sight. And so I'd met him that night, and then like, maybe a week later, that same friend, her and I worked together. We were coworkers. And she was like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? I said, oh, nothing. And she's like, I'm going to some guy's birthday party if you want to go. And I was just like, sure, why not? And it ended up being his birthday. And we got everybody got trashed, and we made out by the end of the night. And
Nice.
he tried to get me to go home with him for
You
his
really showed him a good
birthday.
time.
Well, no, not as good a time as he wanted, and then we like just sort of kind of started dating from there, and then a month into us dating, I found out I was pregnant.
Oh
So-
my
Whoa.
Lord!
Yes.
Talk about the stars aligning. Well, I was curious, like where you met, because I was going to bring that up later on when we get into the dating,
Yeah.
the current dating scene, like places to meet and kind of reference back to.
Maybe
where
the
was
bar's not the best.
Well, it depends on what time it is, right?
Supposed to meet
There's
him
still
at church.
sun outside.
Yeah.
Supposed to meet at church. That's
Supposed
right.
to meet at church. Nice church.
I don't recommend getting pregnant a month after you meet them, though.
Wow. Wow.
I bet he was just like fist pumping, just happy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Not freaked out at all.
What was that phone call like?
Oh, okay. So let's
gotta know
just
this
get
story.
into it.
Yeah.
So I think he like knew what was coming, broken condom. And a couple weeks later, you're getting that phone call.
Yeah.
I was like, hey.
Was it really a broken condom?
Yes, it was.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Well, that's like
be
point
careful with those condoms.
0.001% happening, right?
Yeah, well, it happens. So.
I mean, something was happening.
Mhm. Yeah. And to tie into the doula stuff, like there's, maybe a 7-day window of when a woman's ovulating for pregnancy to happen. So yeah, stars aligned, broken condom in that 7-day window.
Wow.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
So yeah, it actually was. I left the message on his voicemail. Because
No, you did not do
maybe
that.
it was.
I did,
Maybe it was
because
your ovaries' fault.
it was my ovaries' fault.
Your ovaries made you make out with them all night.
So can you I'm sorry, but can you give us like a preview of what that voicemail sounded like? Like, hey, I don't know. I'm gonna say Tom. Hey, Tom.
You don't do a very good girl voice.
I got. Oh yeah, my voice is terrible.
Think Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Well, so it wasn't very nice at all because I had asked him to come over after he was working like an air show or something, and it was right by my house or my apartment. So I was like, come over when you get off work. I need to talk to you. Well, which I guess that was the clue. And so he didn't come over right after work, and had like texted me and said that he was getting in the shower and on his way. But I don't know if it was bullshit detector or pregnancy hormones or what. I just left a message like, well, by the way, I'm pregnant
Whoa.
and you're gonna be a dad. And that was the gist of it.
How quick
and
did
then
he call you back?
He came over.
Yeah, he canceled all of his plans. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's wild.
Yeah.
It's scary.
But you ended up having more kids.
Yes,
So something was working. Something was right.
It worked. I mean, for the first couple of months, we were both freaked out, obviously, and but then we got our shit together, and we decided to go ahead and be together. I mean, I was one of those. I was like, I don't want to turn an accident into a mistake. I didn't want to be together just because I was pregnant.
But you were into each other.
Yeah, we were.
So you're like, hey, we are,
Yeah.
like each other. We don't.
we don't hate each other, so
Wow.
I could see you naked for
I
years,
like you enough
Like-
to hang out with you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, we're gonna have to raise this kid together
We can eat
somehow.
some cheeseburgers together.
Right.
It's cool.
How long did y'all ultimately stay together?
All in all, we were together 9 years.
Wow,
Mhm.
that's super rare.
You
Holy
got
cow!
past the 7-year itch and everything.
Yeah. Well, we were married 7, or I'm sorry, we separated like right before that 7-year anniversary.
Really?
Mhm.
So, I'm always, that's my go-to question when talking to people married past 7, or, it's like, what is it a real thing?
Oh, it's a
You know.
thing, apparently. I didn't make it past that 7-year itch.
Holy cow!
I mean, it's like, because I tried to understand, like, what comes into play at that point in your relationship with that person, or what came into? I know it's different for everybody, but like at that 7-year point, what was it for you?
For us, it was more, and like you said, we did have another child in that time frame. We didn't even get married till our oldest was 2 years old. She was our flower girl. So, we didn't even rush into the marriage part. For us, it was just coming to the realization that had I not gotten pregnant, we probably wouldn't have ended up marrying each other. We wouldn't have, it worked, and we were good parents together. We had a good partnership and a good relationship.
Wait, are you saying you're having this conversation 7 years later?
Yeah. We had it multiple times throughout our marriage. Like, we knew, that...
If I hadn't gotten pregnant, we wouldn't even be together.
Not like that. It wasn't like that. It was more like...
That's a girl voice.
That was a good girl voice.
So, yeah, I'm not ever going to attempt a girl voice. You hear this bass? It's not going to work.
I don't know what kind of girl you're imitating.
You see the type of women I deal with.
But anyway, to answer your question, yeah, like for us... and I tell people when I talk to married couples, I'm like, if you have a really good foundation of where you started, and like we were never in love. We liked each other. We grew to love each other, but we were never like in love with each other. And so then it just came to a point where it was like, well, we're still young. We can co-parent to a point where we're not going to like hate each other. We're not going to screw up our kids too bad because, divorce is going to have its negative effect anyway, but we could still get along and be friends. So let's just cut ties now and go find happiness on our own, separately.
I remember you making a point of that, like when
Yes.
you were, first posting it, like, hey, everybody, everything's cool.
Yeah.
We're going to totally co-parent. This is totally... amicable.
Right.
Please don't comment and shit on, have a shit storm, on
right, because
anything.
everybody automatically thinks who cheated or, like there's got to be some juicy gossip.
Well, no, this totally makes sense.
Yeah.
And
for us, it was just like we realized that we would be happier apart, and we wanted our kids to see, those relationships, like their parents happier, even if it was apart. And, but I've seen other couples, and I've talked with other couples that have gotten to that 7-year itch, and it's more about like communicating, maybe they're not paying enough attention to each other anymore. And I always encourage people, like, if you have that solid foundation and you had that love at some point, try to work past that.
But you were saying you never had the warm fuzzies.
Not really.
And that's what was the consensual decision.
Right.
Ultimately was, let's give ourselves opportunity to go chase the warm fuzzies.
The warm fuzzies.
I'm just, changing that out for love.
Right.
If you're going to go chase, that chemical, I don't know, whatever it is that makes your brain go, you're basically chasing that interaction with another human that gives you those warm fuzzies, somehow in some way.
Right.
So if you didn't have that and you're like, yeah, let's do this before I'm 40, or
50. Yeah.
It's all about communication, guys.
It really is. 100%. Yeah.
100%. I'm not one to talk, but 100%.
I was about to say, what's your background in communicating, or not?
Or not.
Hindsight is 2020. Like, you know what I mean? Well, you realize after you get out of something like that, like, I should have done this, or I could have made an effort here, and it sucks the first, few months after the fact, because you're like, man, I probably could have made this work if I did this and this and this, and you start to get down about it, but then you realize, like, oh, well, she didn't do this, or the other person didn't do this. I don't know. Yeah, a lot of things become clear afterwards.
Right,
I don't know about that because both of you were in marriages for a very, very, relationships for a very, very long time. Yeah, you were in a relationship longer than the marriage part, but still, if you count to the years that you lived together, there's so much experience there. Like it's almost kind of like what Natasha's saying. Like, you get to that point where it's like, look, this isn't, working. We're going on two different paths here,
There's a point of no return, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a switch that flips where one party decides like, I'm out. I'm throwing in the towel, and it's very hard to come back from that. Like you can do whatever you want. Like,
yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't think it like from what you've told me, it wasn't a miscommunication or not communicating thing. Like I think it was more similar to like Natasha was saying, like with your marriages, that this has gone as far as it can go.
Exactly.
That's what it was.
And I tell people, we don't blink an eye if a friendship fades away. Like if you have a friend and you just outgrow each other and that friendship falls away and you don't ever see that friend again or speak to that friend again, nobody blinks an eye about that. But when people
sometimes
divorce,
that's a good thing, huh?
Yeah, right.
Calm down. Let's calm down.
Yeah. But with divorce, it's like, oh, you failed at your marriage. You failed at your relationship. And it's like, and I think
according to who?
Society, I guess.
Well,
we'll just do the
hold
larger.
water.
Right. We'll do but like you just said, it's run its course. It's gone as far as it can go.
Mm-hmm.
And once it gets to that point, it's like we have two options. We can salvage it in the best way possible and move forward, or it can turn totally toxic and just get until it just really blows up.
Yeah, because I've always said relationships are like a third person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know that sounds weird, but you have to nurture it, you have to
right.
work with it, and in that relationship, even being as a metaphor as a third person, it could become self-destructive if you don't take care of it.
Right.
Just piggybacking onto what you're saying.
Absolutely.
But I don't wish that shit on anybody, because I don't care how good.
What, divorce?
Oh yeah, it's. I mean, even when it's both people coming together and saying, "Hey, we should that period of adjusting afterwards is." It's like somebody dying in your family. Well,
yeah, you have to go through that grieving process for sure.
Because you're second guessing yourself. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh shit, should I call her? Like, should I make this work? But it's tough. And then you're like a fish out of water, like me.
Right.
I'm a fish out of water. I'm flapping on the pier right now. I don't know what to do.
Right.
It's like, because I've had all these years of routine.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to cook. Yeah.
Might be a good time to learn.
Like last night, I was like, dude, it's 10 p.m. I got to get home. And he's like, why? I was like, yeah, you got to
Oh, right. I don't have to get home.
I think you're doing all right. You're making pancakes on the griddle?
I got a griddle. So, first of all, the griddle
surviving.
is the best thing ever.
You're feeding yourself.
You just plug it in, and it's a big flat space. You can cook whatever you want on.
Nice. Do your bacon and pancakes at the same time. There you go.
It's bad. Let's get into the dating part of this, Mitchell.
What? No.
Yeah.
Well, Natasha was telling us you come back and you decide that you want to go separate ways. But you were telling me earlier that right before that, the whole doula thing actually came into the picture. So you were saying, like, during your first child, you had your first child and you didn't even know that doula was a thing.
Right.
So at what point between the first child and the second child where you're like, not only, oh, I want to have a doula, but I want to be it. How did that, fill us in?
Okay. So my first daughter, her birth was full of intervention, and, I had gotten the epidural, and there was a lot of intervention to have her. I didn't end up with the C-section, but it was very traumatic to me, the way her birth unfolded. So when my best friend, when I lived in Wichita Falls, when she got pregnant, because I was the first one out of my friend group to have a baby. So all of it was brand new to me. Nobody was there to walk me through, this is what's going to happen, because I was the first one to go through it all. So
sounds like you need to get on the phone with my sister.
Yeah. Well, none of them had babies yet either.
No,
so,
yeah.
Now, yeah.
Yes, no, she's doing fine. I'm just saying, like, a little 5 minutes of hey, yeah, that's totally normal if he's puking green and cross-eyed. That's cool. It's cool. Just take a deep breath.
Right. Oh, first-time moms. Yeah. I should give her a call. yeah, when I found out I was pregnant with my second, my best friend had a home birth. She went from hiring a doula to deciding to also hire a midwife and have a home birth. So then when I was pregnant with Lydia, she was like, hey, you really should look into a doula. I'm like, what is that? I've never heard this word before. But I read up about it, interviewed a lady, and just fell in love with her and was like, absolutely, I want her at my birth. And my husband at the time, he was like, let's do this. Bring extra help on. Because you go to the hospital, and I think we all have this perception that the nurses are just going to tell the dads what to do. You're like, oh, they'll tell us what to do. And it doesn't necessarily happen that way. They're doing their job. They're checking the monitors. They're checking your blood pressure. They're checking everything. And they're just like, have at it. We'll see you later. And they leave the room. And the dads are standing there like, I don't know how to help you. So he was totally on board for hiring the doula with the second one. Because he knew my goal was I just didn't want an epidural again. It really messed up my back. It just gave me a lot of complications that I didn't want to do again.
So you sought out. Okay, so just to clarify, when I first contacted you, I was like doula, and because I associated the doulas with breathing, and you were like, no, it's not. It's not the whole Lamaze breathing thing. We don't really focus on that.
Right. Like, Lamaze doesn't even do Lamaze breathing anymore. Right. That's right.
And I was hoping you could talk about the clarification of the doula's role, just to educate. I know you defined it earlier, but
yeah,
in regards to what like you're saying, like the husband, he's in the dad's in the room. I don't know what to do with my hands. I don't know. And then there's this doula, and then there's the doctor, and then there's the nurse. It's like well, what's everybody doing in here?
Right.
So how does that play out? And if anybody's listening and they're interested in doula or how to become a doula, definitely comment in the comment section of the video, and Natasha can get with you on any information that might help.
Absolutely. So a doula is a labor coach, and I like to describe it and it gets confused with midwife a lot. And a midwife is more not a doctor, but they're more on the medical side, checking, doing all the prenatal care with the mom during her pregnancy. They deliver the baby. They do, the aftercare. They're doing more of all the medical stuff.
You're not delivering the babies.
Right. I'm not doing that. A doula is a coach.
And you're not saying deep breaths, 1, 1, 2.
No.
You're not doing that. You're just basically look, babies are made. You know how that happens. And then you take it from there of this is what's going to happen when you get to the hospital or wherever you have the baby, and what's going to take place between you and the doctor or the midwife.
Right. I help them prepare for it, and what the labor process is going to look like, what the different stages of labor are, what your body is going to do in those stages of labor, what you can do to cope with the contractions and everything during those different stages of labor. So we do a lot of work prenatally to get prepared, and I help the dads or the support person that's going to be with the laboring mom, help them. These are things you can do, you can compress her hips during a contraction, you can do this counter pressure on her back during a contraction.
So if the dad can't make it, these are the things that you're doing.
Yeah, and I'll do them too. So a lot of times the dads and I end up tag teaming, because if somebody's in labor for 12 hours and you're trying to do these hip compressions and do all this stuff, your arms are getting tired. So, I'm hired a lot as backup to help them. And
but you said you assisted in what, 45 births?
45, yeah.
45 births, and and I'm glad you did clarify the difference between the doula and the midwife, because one of the things I was going to ask you or get into was the delivery, the preference of delivery. How many of those births that you participated in were at home versus the hospital? Because I know the preconception is midwives are the ones that focus on if you want to have a home delivery, you need to get a midwife,
right?
Or a doctor, or find a doctor who's going to come to your house. Otherwise,
there's no doctor that's
on
coming to your house.
Yeah, it's like, so it's you and the midwife and
right.
maybe a tub or a pool or a bed or whatever.
Right.
And but as you said, you're there
so
to
doulas,
help compress.
Doulas are hired for hospital births and home births. I think my client base, I did 2 home births. So most of the people that hired me,
2 out of 45
home.
Were only at home.
Yep. All of the rest were hospital births. Most of the people that sought me out planned hospital births. Mm-hmm.
You have a good relationship network with the midwives? Well, let me rephrase that. Does the midwives have a network like how you have a network for the doulas?
They do. Mm-hmm. We have a couple of midwives on the coast. A couple.
There's a bunch of doulas. There's a bunch of you.
Yeah, there's more doulas than midwives. We actually need more midwives, really. Home birth is becoming on the rise, especially now with COVID. The midwives are just being inundated with people wanting to do home birth, during a pandemic.
I was going to say I'm very surprised at that number, that only 2 of them were at home.
Well, and see, but the thing is, my doula partner, she mostly does home birth. She does hospital birth
who's
too.
Your doula partner?
My doula partner is Star Croucher.
Shout out to Star. What up, Star?
Star.
What's up? And she's actually also a student midwife, so she will be eventually a midwife herself. But right now, she's doing doula work.
And so this preparation, this coaching, when me and my wife, were pregnant with our first child, we had to go to the hospital for the memorial made us attend an educational class of and it was basically like, here's everything that can go wrong,
right?
Which didn't really do any favors for her to be able to sleep at night.
Exactly.
And which to me was wide opening, because there was so much more involved than it's like, the baby's gonna pop out, and then there's the placenta, and this is gonna come out, and there's this whole thing, you get the cord, but there's also this aspect, look, if it goes south, this is what we're gonna do, okay? And these are the things that are gonna happen. But before any of that, and I didn't, never had a kid before, so I'm just, riding the lightning.
So our doulas and childbirth educators down here, like, our process is more to teach you the natural process of labor, what's happening with your body, get you prepared for all of that, because the hospital childbirth classes are very focused on like the medical side of like them hooking up the contraction monitors and those things, and most people don't realize what is actually just going on with their body. And if you know what's going on with your body and why your body is doing what it's doing, it makes getting through labor so much easier. And so, and if you know how to cope through all those things, it makes the process a lot better. And then also, too, people hired me to help navigate those things. Like if something went wrong, then they could stop and we could talk about it. And I could, tell them the pros and cons of each thing. Like if the doctor said we could do this or we could do that, we would talk through the pros and cons of each thing. What are the benefits of that? What are the risks of that? And so, I had one dad refer to me as like their birth encyclopedia, because they're like, this popped up. We have no idea. I was
thinking more like along the lines of like a single mom. Here's a single mom. She's never had a kid before. The dad's not in the picture, and it's like to me, from what you've described, the doula is like one of the best people to have at the side. Like look, no.
Yeah, I had single mom clients. I also had a lot of military clients where the military spouse was deployed overseas. So I was there. I was the support person. That story I was telling you earlier, the one baby I actually did help catch, that was a deployed dad. He was in, I think, Japan, and mom didn't have any family down here, didn't have any friends. They had like literally just moved to this base, and she hired me, and I was there with her, and she would have been alone because the nurses and doctor weren't in the room. She stepped out of the bed, and the baby was there, and
Right.
I was there to help her. And, had she not had anybody, she'd have been by herself. So, yeah, I mean, there's a wide variety of people that hired me, and there was a wide variety of reasons. A lot of people thought, oh, you're a doula, they don't want to have an epidural, they want an unmedicated birth. And I would have people that hired me that knew they wanted to get an epidural at some point, or like there was a wide range of reasons that people hired me.
At what point do you start your own doula business?
So I started that pretty much right away, because there wasn't a doula network down here, really. There was a couple of people. There was my friend Bianca. She's a childbirth educator.
Shout out to Bianca.
Shout out
and,
Bianca.
And Graham.
And Graham.
What up, Bianca? And Robbie.
And little Robbie. So, yeah, I mean, Bianca was doing it with her childbirth education, and there was a couple of others, but really there weren't a lot when I moved down here. And so I took a couple of courses, and I was getting my certification, and one of the certifications I was doing, they were talking about the business side, and I was like, I mean, damn, I never thought I would be a business owner, but let's do it. And so I started Gulf Coast Doula.
I would imagine that you've seen a lot of what's the word, in-room drama with like moms and grandmas and things like that.
Yeah.
And because I don't have kids, but everybody I know has kids, and I've hear horror stories about, I don't want her in the room, or these two people don't get along in the room. Have you seen like that?
I have, but I honestly encouraged my clients, it's not a spectator sport. Birth, I mean, I don't know where we got into this part of society where it's like, let's have the whole family in the room.
The Renaissance. Remember the big paintings with what's her name? I'm drawing a blank. The girl, 16, Mary Antoinette. Everyone is in the freaking room watching her, waiting for her to have a baby so they can
she was royalty. They were trying,
but I'm just saying, like, it's just stemming from the royalty wanting to know if it's a son or a girl.
Well, I mean, if you look back, like,
can you imagine having a baby with like 40 fucking people in the room looking down between your legs to see what the hell comes out?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, there's a lot of shit going on down. I know you don't have kids, but there's a lot of shit going on.
There's a lot of stuff
I
happening.
watched The Miracle of Life in 7th grade, and I haven't been
And
the same
that's why
since.
he doesn't have kids.
And if
I haven't been the
it's
same
not coming out
since.
between the legs, there's a lot of shit coming out.
Yeah, I was
in
like,
the abdomen.
Put it back in. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, I've heard a lot of like bad stories about like this mom doesn't like this mom from this side of the family, but they both demand that they are in.
And
the
that
room.
really shouldn't happen.
Right.
It's not a spectator sport. That actually interferes with the labor process. If the mom is stressed out, then, it's going to stall things out. It's going to interfere with things. I mean, we look at animals. If animals are stressed out when they're giving birth, they will run and hide somewhere, and it's kind of the same thing. It should be a relaxing, calming environment.
Right.
There shouldn't be a ton of people, and it really, honestly, should just be the two people that made the baby in there getting it out.
So where's the doula biz today?
Today, I have stopped doula work. After my divorce, I had to get a 9-to-5 steady stream job. So I decided to take a step back. I was taking clients, here and there. But
were you doing the doula business full time at one point?
At one point, I was. I would have between 3 and 4 clients a month. And I was pretty much booked up all the time. And my doula partner, she was booked up all the time. So, it was one of those things where I could probably have kept going with it, but it is also a feast or famine industry where you might have people contacting you to hire you and you're turning people away. And then another month you're like, oh shit, I need to make my bills. where are the people that need a doula this month?
Why y'all not having babies?
Yeah, like,
I need to have some babies.
What's up?
I got
So
bills to pay.
exactly. And I just didn't want that stress of, like not knowing where my paycheck was
gonna come
definitely
from.
coming from.
Because you got kids to feed.
I have kids to feed. I'm a single mom. It's on my shoulders. So I stepped back. Star is still doing it. She's pretty much the face of Gulf Coast Doula now. It's still, registered in my name and everything. And but I do this. I'll be like, I'm done. I'm not doing it. And then somebody will contact me and I'll connect with them in 6 months. And I'll be like, okay, fine. I'll be your doula. And then I'll do a birth. Yeah.
I'll help coach you what's going to happen.
Exactly. So the last one I did was I think 2 or 3 months ago. But yeah, check me in about 6 months. I'll probably be like, yeah, I've got clients.
Do you take on more than one client at a time? How does that work?
Well, because they have a estimated due date, and you can give birth within 2 weeks before that and 2 weeks after. So I would always take between 2 and 3 was kind of my sweet spot, because only one time did I have people go into labor on the same day. And it ended up being where one of the things with Star and I working together is we were backups to each other. If I was at a birth and another client went in, she could go be with that client till I could get there, and vice versa.
I was going to ask you, with the trade-off to the midwife, is it you're there, you're doing what you can up until the point where the midwife, takes over, or the doctor takes over, and then you leave and you're out, or you're just you're there the whole time?
Yeah, we stay the whole time. I would stay up until probably about an hour or two after delivery, once the family got all settled in. And then I would leave to let them have their time of meeting their baby. And
so it's an educational role, but also a coaching and comforting role. So you see them through all the way to the end.
Right.
Educate them. This is what's going to happen.
Right.
When you get to that point, I'm there. I'm to assist. If the dad can't be there, I'm in the room with you. We're still gonna rock and roll.
Yeah. Even if Dad's there, I would still be there. And
that's what I said. That's what I was doing in the room. I was like, we're gonna rock and roll. Not at all. Not at all. My wife was behind a curtain, having a C-section.
Yeah.
Like, it's all right. It's all right, baby. We're gonna rock and roll right on out of here.
I don't know, man.
She's like, sure.
No, that's a completely different. That's a complete. Well, did you said 45? How many of those were C-sections?
I don't know the exact number on it, but there were some that ended up having to have C-sections, and one of the things is also when I started doula work, we weren't allowed into the operating room.
Right. Yeah.
And so it got to a point where I worked with the doctors enough where I was like, hey, and they started to see the benefits of a doula, and they started to see that I'm not there to interfere with the doctor. I'm not there to, work against the doctors and nurses. And so I built up a relationship with some of the doctors where by the time I stopped doula work, I was allowed into 3 of the different ORs on the Gulf Coast.
I kind of feel like at that point, you're probably... It's almost a psychological...
It's emotional support.
Yeah, comfort to your client to have you there. You've already been through the process. You've already been through the classes, certification. They know you. They know, where you're coming from, what you just...
Yeah, it's an emotional bond.
Even with the curtain up for a C-section, to have... I know when my wife had a C-section for both of our kids, and I'm on, holding her hand, and my mother-in-law was right behind me, and there's that moment where it's like, okay, Dad, we need you to come cut the umbilical cord, and there's that trade-off, and it's critical. My mother-in-law is just, the saint that she is. Right up to the bat, she's not going to let her daughter lay there and grabs. It was like trading her hand, my wife's hand, from my hand to my
hers.
Mother-in-law's hand, and then I went to the table when they're checking out the newborn and making sure everything's okay and cut the cord and but it's just it happens. Everything's happening so fast.
Yes, so fast.
And I imagine for you, it's like if you're right there with them,
Yeah, and so I would have been your mother-in-law's spot in that scenario. It's like and that ultimately was the doctor that I really worked with a lot. Is the dad didn't have to make a choice between like, now I'm leaving my wife all alone, or go see my baby and make sure So and then I'm there to make sure and like you said, we already have this connection. We're already we have this comfort level. We've been working together for I'd have women hire me as soon as they peed on the sticks. So I mean we might have 9 months worth of a relationship built up. So they have that comforting person that they trust and that is knowledgeable, that can talk them through what's going on if there is any complication.
Let me ask you this: were all of your children natural births, or did you have a C-section with any of them?
No, both of mine were natural. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so both of mine were C-section, and it's quite a different story. Like not just with the recovery, but like like afterwards, my wife could she would go into detail like what that experience was. She can feel her guts being taken out and putting on top of her, and then back into her, and how they have to push it all around, to sew her up. And I mean, it's like having someone there, just to hold your hand, to wipe the sweat off your face. Like, I mean, we're talking Braveheart here, like ending scene, Mel Gibson on the table.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
So first of all, I'm not going to sleep tonight at all. I didn't know any of this stuff.
And he's like, I'm never having children.
I thought a C-section was they cut the. Here comes the baby.
They have to move stuff out of the way. Yep.
Yeah. No, they take it out. And also it's one of the reasons why the recovery is so much more intensive than a natural childbirth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the incision is going
Don't do
through. Think about it. If you're pregnant and it's the wall, the epidermis is so thin. I mean,
I don't want to think
the
about
muscle,
it.
the tissue. Anyways, there's a lot that goes into it.
That's why women have kids, not men.
Right? Our species would have ended if it was up to you guys.
Nope. Yeah.
But it is fantastic to know that there's people like Natasha who can be there for people who get into that situation, and it's so important. That's what I'm trying to stress, the importance of having someone there in your corner. I mean, you're in a surgery room, and I can understand them being like, yo, you're not family. You need to stay outside. But if your client is saying, yeah, I want her here, she's got me this far, it would really help me mentally to be here. My mom and dad can't be here. There's nobody can be here, and she's here. She's out in the hall. Bring her in.
Yeah.
Just to hold your client's hand while everything happens, because like I said, it happens fast.
It happens fast, and it's very
they're already halfway through. When by the time I walk through the room and my mother-in-law walks through the room, they're already halfway through. Like they're like just about to take the baby out and get the baby under the light and start doing everything.
I'm freaking out. I got a question though. Have you ever dealt with like any teenage single moms?
I have not personally, but other doulas I've worked with have worked with teen moms.
Because that's the scariest thing to me. Because like I was 17 at one time in my life, and how terrifying would that be? Especially if the guy's gone and maybe you don't have supportive parents. Like I would imagine that would be a nightmare to deal with.
Right.
Holy cow.
Right. Yeah. A lot of my colleagues or, fellow doulas have worked with single moms and still do. And, and that's the thing. It's like you were saying earlier, like kind of like the granola moms. I think there's a
How dare you?
You just told everybody how old we
Call
are.
the police.
They're going to be like, that's a term from the 90s.
Granola
some old
mom?
motherfuckers. God, I haven't heard that in like 30 years.
I'm going to look that up.
But that's kind of the misconception. People be like, "Oh, it's just like the hippies," or those are the people hiring doulas. But I mean, I've been hired by like the assistant district attorney, a surgeon. I've been all spectrums of people, have hired doulas and have had doulas.
Well, since you did do 2 home births, I guess my question would still be prevalent. Where I was going to ask you, I was getting into the, it's such a big decision. If you're going to have the baby in the hospital or if you're going to have the baby at home. And,
Right.
and I kind of feel like one of the, classic arguments is there's so many things that can go wrong. Right. And when you have, I guess it's more of the, it come down to the midwives who are going to deliver.
The midwife, yes.
At home, the what their challenges that they face. And in your 2 home births that you assisted in, I was going to ask you what all, came into play that said, I'm comfortable having it at home. I want you to be there. We're going to have a midwife, because...
And I would not attend a birth if a midwife was not there.
the billion things that can go wrong, the ambulance isn't going to get there fast enough, and that's a life or death, situation. So, what the 2 that you did assist in, can you... I mean, everything went great.
Yeah, everything went great. And I mean, the biggest thing is for a home birth, you want to make sure that you are hiring a qualified midwife. And this is one thing that I always stress to people when they contact
And you're talking
me.
certifications.
Like, yes.
Registration.
Yes. They have gotten their certification. And
multiple.
because here's a little fun fact for you on Mississippi.
Fun facts.
We are an unregulated state when it comes to midwifery. So Mitchell,
Midwifery?
yeah,
This is a word?
Yes, you could decide
midwife.
tomorrow and be like, "Hey, I'm Mitchell Gruish, and I'm gonna be a midwife," and there is nothing anybody could say or do.
Do
and
you
could
want
just-
this to be your midwife? I don't think so.
We're rocking and rolling.
I mean, what kind of who wants this? I don't think anybody wants this to be their midwife. Like, yeah, deliver my baby. Elvis.
But you could have that, that clientele. I'm the Elvis midwife. I'll sing Elvis songs and do impersonations as I deliver your baby. And there's no laws or regulations in Mississippi to stop you from doing that.
So it's the wild West when it comes to home births.
Mississippi is, yep.
Mississippi.
In Mississippi.
But all your deliveries, all your assisted deliveries were on the Gulf Coast.
They were. And I, as a doula, I stress to my clients, look for a qualified midwife. Ask those questions. What would you do in an emergency situation? When would you transfer me? Like at what point would you decide this is looking kind of wonky, things aren't looking good, we need to go to the hospital? And a midwife is going to take the low risk, good qualified candidates for a home birth.
I wonder what the statistics are for like rural deliveries, where the people out in the Delta or the people out in the backwoods of Mississippi don't want to make the journey to the hospital.
At one time I knew those statistics, but I don't anymore. But we have midwives up there too. So, and that's the thing is we really need more, to help those families that don't have access to the care or do want to have home birth, but we need qualified midwives.
I kind of want to say, like, I feel like, just from you, telling us what the doulas do, your educational role, like how important and critical that could be in those rural areas of in other states as well. But just, like he was saying, like a lot of underage girls who may get pregnant in these rural areas of Mississippi, like the doula, if there was doulas present in those communities that could say, look, this is, what to expect. You don't need to go YouTube a whole bunch of crazy shit. This is the reality of what you're going to be looking at. And let's get if there's a hospital within driving distance, let's get a midwife involved. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole different world if you want to dive into doulas and midwives
But you guys have a good relationship.
We do. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you got your own business. You got somebody who took it over.
Yeah.
And then at what point do you start the Dumpster Fire Chronicles? What and what inspired you to start the Dumpster Fire Chronicles?
So, all right, in there somewhere, I get the divorce and start to date again, and realize very quickly that it is a totally different dating world from 11 years prior. And the dating blog just kind of, it wasn't something I set out to do. I was telling friends the crazy dating stories I had, just they would ask me, hey, what happened after your date? And I'd tell them the crazy story that happened, and just and sharing stuff on my Facebook and sharing stuff with my friends. More and more people just kept saying, you have to start a blog.
Crazy because the people that you were meeting up with were crazy, or just the interaction, like the whole
thing.
I met this person, in a chat room, and the reality of this person as a human being is just fucking insane. Why does this person exist? Crazy.
Maybe not that crazy. Just maybe the wild is the word I'm looking for. I didn't just, yeah.
Not on the same page.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that a nice way of putting it?
That's a nice way to put it.
We are not on the same level, dude. I got kids, and I don't know what you're looking for, but you need to get on my level. or not, or not at all.
Or you can go somewhere else.
Need to exit.
Yeah, exit.
How many of these crazy encounters would you say you went on before you're like, you got enough people saying you should fucking write something?
Oh, it was probably about 10 dates.
What? 10, like almost a dozen?
Whoa. Like, yeah.
Like okay. Like a dozen, like bad, like.
Some weren't bad. Some were just kind of like, what the fuck? But like some were, just.
We're talking 10 here. That is the coal fire to provoke you to start writing the blog. Like, is there a breakdown in percentage of like, this is how many creepy dudes there were, this is how many insensitive dudes, how many perverted dudes, how many genuine but just not on the same level dudes?
We need a spreadsheet.
I need to go back and do a spreadsheet. I guess I need to do that.
I'm just wondering, like, maybe how bad was it?
Maybe that'll be the next blog post, like the total breakdown, analytical, like date by date. Yeah, I don't know like exact numbers or anything. I just know it got to a point where it just became so ridiculous that, friends and people, when I would share stuff to Facebook, they'd be like, please start a blog. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of was like, all right, I mean, it'll be entertaining, and it'll also be kind of self-therapy, after these bad dates, to write about it and get it out and be like, get through some self-therapy for myself and entertain people along the way, I guess.
the first date you went on after that 11-year stretch, how nervous were you? Like how much of was it a good date? Was it a disaster?
Yeah, I can't even remember the first one.
He was that forgettable.
He was that forgettable. Yeah.
What was he, an IT guy?
but it must have been pretty bad.
I mean, I don't think it was bad, but it obviously was not great enough to remember. I think it was just kind of awkward. I do remember he didn't look like his pictures, and that was the first.
I hear that. That happens a lot.
Yes,
can't do that.
It was the first, like, kind of like, oh, here we go with online dating, like,
which is completely different. Like the difference between like high school dating,
mm-hmm.
Where like we're so old that it was still accustomed to go out to the movies and have dinner and actually see that person face to face to get to know them, versus what now, like everything's through an app, through the computer. You're doing Zoom, you're doing Snapchat, you're doing what's the
Bumble, Hinge, Tinder, you got all
Tinder.
the dating apps. Yeah, it's yeah.
So you do 10 bad dates. You said I've had it, and you start writing.
Yeah, and so that's how the Chronicles of the Dumpster Fire began.
Okay, let's go into some highlights. Let's go into some highlights here. We're gonna get into some juicy territory, literally juicy stuff.
We'll start off with this. What are your deal breakers on a first date? Like if a guy says, what's like this is the last date for me? Like, is it a political thing? Is it do they want to get married? Do you want to have kids?
Oh, see, man, you should get all that fleshed out before you even go on the date. Like this is
like criteria.
This is the texting like questionnaire you have to get through.
This is like serious. Like I don't know. Like also like it's also sounds like this is that midpoint where you like want to know if you need to move forward or if you're just gonna keep having some one night stands or if it's gonna be a real thing. I was supposed to be the referee here.
No,
so my personal. I mean, I don't have like personal deal breakers per se. It's more, I mean, does this person have their shit together? Are they, are they a good person? What's that chemistry like in person? But
how many out of that first 10 had their shit together?
Seemingly all of them until
seemingly.
Oh, yeah, they're gonna tell you that.
So
yeah,
you can write whatever the fuck you want on
no,
the
I don't
profile.
live with my mom.
I own a casino in Greenville.
That's why I'm saying you have to like I learned, after that to start fleshing that stuff out.
That was my Jay Leno impersonation.
Good job. Oh yeah.
So they show up and they're full of shit. Obviously, they don't look like their profile. You're just you're like,
by
what
the
fuck,
way, guys
Why
are
are you wasting
just
my
as
time?
bad as women about that. And ladies, stop it with the Snapchat filters.
So that's a big thing for me because when they put on the filters that smooth their face out, you know what I mean?
And where'd those forehead wrinkles go? And
then you get there and it's like, whoa, she aged 15 years. You know what I mean? Ooh. Yeah, I hate. So
well, and I mean, I tell like my friends that are dating and other people I encounter, yeah, I'm a curvy chick. I am confident in that. I like it. I know not all guys are into curvy chicks. Mm-hmm. So why put pictures where you're like sucking it in and doing the best angle and, not look the way you look because I want to attract the guy that's into that, not the one that's not, and waste everybody's time. So, again, no Snapchat filters, and take pictures that are true to your size.
That's right.
And that goes for guys too, because I've showed up to dates, and the guys obviously used pictures where when they were in like the best shape of their life, and they show up, and I'm like, that was about 30 pounds ago.
Well, that was 10 years ago.
Right,
that was in college.
That was when you were in the military 10 years ago. You don't look like that now.
So it's like falsification for what? Like ulterior motives?
I don't, I really don't understand the thought process behind it because if your goal is to meet and date, then they're going to see what you look like. And then on top of that, I mean, for me personally, it's I don't even care if like you still look good with that extra weight or whatever. It's immediately a turnoff for me, and that is a deal breaker for me because that's just dishonest.
Right, it is.
I'm like, it's dishonesty. I don't like it. We're done.
That's number one for me. Like, don't try to trick me.
Right.
Don't try to trick me. Don't use a fake photo or a Photoshop photo, and then we show up. And, you look like an old napkin. You know what I mean? This is not the picture. Is that funny?
I wanted to tell you that, when I first started, when you first started posting your Dumpster Fire Chronicles, it reminded me of LiveJournal. I don't know if you remember LiveJournal.
I do remember LiveJournal.
But it was an early online diary type thing. And you could see you could go through and just read these public entries of people going like, oh, I went on a date tonight and it was so horrible, or I went on a date tonight and had sex with this person in a park, or I went on the date tonight and this person I think I'm going to marry, and just the whole spectrum. But I would say like 7 out of 10 those LiveJournal entries were just like disaster dates, or what you would call dumpster fire dates, just like crash and burn, like here's the shittiest people you could probably like ever meet, and somehow, mangle your way through an evening with them.
Right.
Somehow.
Yeah.
Is it that kind of my description of LiveJournal? My description of LiveJournal might be a little intense. Is that? I mean, your entries so far, I don't feel reflect that, but you've had some pretty, cringeworthy encounters?
I have had some cringe-worthy encounters, like the guy that did live with his mom, who came out later, asked me to wait for his ride to show up, and his ride was his mom. That guy also tried to convince me that Eminem had been overtaken by lizard beings, and so that was interesting. I laughed until I realized he was serious, and then I wanted to get out of there.
He's not joking.
He's not joking. Another one where I literally feared for my life. I thought I might end up in an episode of like Forensic Files or something.
An episode of Dexter.
Right, something.
Why did you fear for your life on that? Like,
I mean, the guy didn't even do anything like outwardly. When I tell this story, people are like, I mean, I don't get it. And I'm like, yeah, it was just one of those gut feelings and some weird things he did. He was trying to get me to go to a different location. I met him, like we met at a restaurant/bar for dinner, but he kept trying to like get me to leave, and it was just this gut feeling like if I leave, I'm gonna end up in a trunk, like something's really weird. And this was the clincher, because I was like, oh, what do you do? And he was like, I work in anesthesia. And I'm like,
no, you
what?
don't.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
you're a liar, sir.
You're a liar, sir.
Rain check.
You mean anesthesiologist? Like, what? You don't even know what it's called, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's been some cringeworthy ones.
This is a serious question. What percentage of the dates you've gone on would you attribute to these dudes having unchecked mental health issues? No, I'm serious. I'm serious. This is a serious question.
I know. That's why I laugh though, because it is like
the guy who's like Eminem, lizard. I mean, there's something not right, and going unchecked here that needs to be validated by a professional psychologist, at some point or somehow. And somehow you end up on a date with this person, and next thing you know, they're talking about ghosts and shit, and you're like, are you serious, dude? Are you really? This is our first date, and you're telling me that the ghost knocked the phone out of your hand? What? There's something not, getting qualified here, and then you end up across the table from this person. So how many? What I mean, like general, would you say?
Oh, on the online dating, probably good 50% of people out there. Probably, I don't know. There's probably a lot. I mean, it's yeah.
Okay. And I think that's pretty truthful, because what I'm getting back to is there's probably a large community of mental health people who they want to seek that comfort in having somebody, knowing that normalization of going on a date, or being having affection and being loved and all those things, but you don't know that. I imagine you don't, that doesn't come up. Like you're talking about these standards, early. Do you want how many kids do you want to have? How many dogs, cat, blah, blah, blah. Do you have any mental health issues?
Right.
I mean, does your mom, dad, what's your medical history? It's like, are we going to be talking about ghosts, lizards? What are we talking about at dinner tonight? It's true.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I wish there was a better screening process for that. But you just kind of have to. Yeah, there's really not.
You just show up to dinner and you're like, oh, I need a bail because you sound like you like to animals way too much.
How many times have you bailed on a guy?
Just that once, where I felt like I feared for my life.
What was your excuse? How'd you get out of it?
Oh, my friend had a flat tire. I had to
Use the old flat tire?
The old flat tire excuse.
Did you pick up the phone? Did you text her and say, call me?
Yes.
And you picked up the phone and said, oh, my God.
Yeah, oh, my God, I got to get out of here.
What?
I know, I feel terrible, but
my God.
I mean, that was the one and only time.
Oh, my God. Have you ever been, and forgive me for asking this, have you ever been walked out on?
No, I have not.
Have you ever been stood up?
Me? No.
I thought that happened to everybody. A friend of mine told me that it just happens to me, I guess.
No, I mean, well, it stood up in like that I went to the place and they didn't show up.
Right.
Oh, no, not that. But I mean, I've been stood up in the sense like where we made a date and then like, when I confirm, they ghosted or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's
But yeah, no, I do not go till I get that confirmation that like, oh, you're on your way. Okay, me too. Like,
what happens? Like, how good does a date have to be for you to give them a second date? You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, it doesn't have to. I'm a little different.
How
Like,
open are you to that?
me, I mean, if we're getting along, if there's, like chemistry and, it seems like there's long-term potential, then yeah, like I'm open to second dates. But like, if, you meet people where it's immediate, you're like, I don't want to spend one more hour with this person.
Yeah.
Like,
I know.
You meet those,
Yeah.
and you know pretty quickly whether you want to spend any more time with those people. So yeah, like, I lost my train of thought. But
Okay, so you were talking about like using the flat tire excuse. Did you talk about your recent where she used the excuse?
Well, it wasn't recent. It was like 15 years ago. Look, I met up with somebody, right? Holy shit.
Dude,
I instantly got depressed.
Do you want me to tell you the story? Do you want me to tell the story?
I'm not all right.
Here.
What are you doing? Don't.
I want you to tell what happened.
All right. So.
Relate the
this is
the
a
excuse.
safe place. Talk
Yeah,
to
we're
us.
talking
Bullshit
about
on the internet. On the
excuses,
internet. Yeah,
excuses and bailing out.
No, so I was talking to this girl a long time ago, and she hit me up, like pursued me. I did not pursue her, and she's like, "Oh my God, look at your face, look at your hair, you're amazing. I want to meet you." And I'm like, "Let's ride," you know.
All right,
and
then.
everything's working out. So I meet up with her, and she's like, "Oh, I like to drink craft beer." I was like, "Yeah, me too." You know, and so we're both drinking high end craft beer. We're having fun with the bartender. Everything's going great. She's touching my arm.
Wow. Did she play with her hair?
Oh yeah, and I'm thinking everything's going great, but let's keep in mind. I may or may not have been in. I was like, I'm not into this. Like, I don't like her. I like her as like a friend. Like, she'd be a cool friend to have, but not as like a relationship. Well, anyway, so your iPhone lights up when you get a call. I know this.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows this. She taps her phone. Phone lights up. Answers the phone. Oh my God! Holy shit! Are you serious? Are you serious? And she's freaking out. And I'm like, this is, and I see the phone, you know, because if you pick up your iPhone, if you got a newer iPhone, it lights up, and the freaking home screen is on, and I'm like, there's nobody on the phone,
Right.
and she's like, oh my God.
See, that's a rookie mistake. She should have had her friend call her.
She's like, I have to go, and I'm like, okay, well, go ahead. She's like, well, let me pay for half the check at least. I was like, no. We're not doing that. Just go handle your emergency, your fake emergency.
Mm-hmm.
So she leaves, and the one of the bar guys comes over, and he's like, "Hey, bro, while you were in the bathroom, because I just went to the bathroom. We were drinking beer pretty hard." He's like, "Yeah, she's full of shit. I just listened to that whole thing. While you were in the bathroom, she called a friend and said, I don't fucking like this guy. I don't know what to do to get out of this." And she, I guess her piece of shit friend that I don't like already, gave her an idea. Mm-hmm. And she pulled that idea, and the bartender's like, dude, yeah, she comes in here all the time. She's a dirtbag. Like, don't feel bad about it. And then another girl bartender comes over, and they're in the corner talking about it. Like, we just saw what happened. I'm so sorry. Next drink's on the house. I was like, I don't want another drink. I want the check. Get me the hell out of here. Beam me up, Scotty. Right?
Right.
It was, and that's never happened to me.
Do you think she maybe was picking up that you weren't into her?
No.
No,
because I was talking most of the time.
Got
it.
it.
Asking her about her. I was doing everything right.
Gotcha.
Because I'd been on 19 disasters before that. And I'd listened to a couple podcasts. I'd watched some videos.
Yeah.
I realized that I'm terrible at doing what I'm doing now, like trying to interact with people and get information out of them. So I was trying to pick up all these pointers because you get confused. You know, you're like, what the hell am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
And still to this day, I don't know what I did.
Probably nothing. It
wrong.
it wasn't a match.
And then the next weekend with another girl went great.
There you
She's
go.
like, oh my God, like why would that? And I told her about it. I was like, you know, has this ever happened to you? And she's like, no, I'm hot. Why would that ever happen to me? But
well, and also,
yeah.
any guys, like, even if they don't like the chick very much, are like, well, I'll take her home. So it doesn't happen to us.
And that was me. I was like, you know, I can maybe if I drink enough beer, I can deal with this girl because she was let's be honest, she was a 2.9, right? And that's being nice. I mean, she's rough. Very rough around the edges. And I was like, you know, how am I gonna get out of this? Like I was thinking that a few times. But yeah, that was demoralizing.
Yeah.
Like that was, and I mean, I'm a tough, confident guy. But like the next 2 hours after that, I was like, holy shit, I gotta go recover from this. Like this is fucked up. So and I told myself, and every girl that I've talked to since then was like, oh, that happens to everybody. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Well, I need to stop being a little wimp about it. Like that happens to everybody, but everybody I talked to was like, dude, that never happens to me. Like nobody would walk out on me because I have social skills and I'm a good looking. But it happened to me.
Natasha.
Yes.
For people who want to check out your Dumpster Fire Chronicles, the URL.
I don't know. It's
Okay,
on
well,
WordPress.
Okay, we'll post it.
Okay.
But I want to ask you this.
No, we posted.
I mean, it's more for me than to like promote. So yeah, check it out later.
I love the shit out of it.
Okay, this is what I wanted to ask you. Your worst date and your best date so far.
Oh, the worst date was the lizard guy. That was the worst.
Was it the worst or was it the craziest?
I mean, it's both. Like, I always win the story when the guys are like, oh, I went on this date. And I was like, oh, no, I've got you beat on this one. So, you know, 'cause they'll be like, oh, she showed up and didn't look like her pictures. And I'm like, okay, Brad. Well, this guy, like, literally tried to convince me about an underground layer of lizard people that.
I mean,
like,
I'm just going to write that off as, like, mentally ill unchecked.
I don't know. And, you know, and then to the point where even the waitress was uncomfortable. And the waitress and I were, like, in it together.
Ooh.
And, you know, so that was the
Help
worst.
me out here, sister.
Yeah, like, well, she, you know, she would come to the table and only look at me and stand by me. And, like, at
Right.
one point I was like, you know.
Something's not right. Wait, was this the one? Was this the same guy where you're like, I got to get away from this guy? Something's off? Was this the off guy?
No.
Okay,
This is
that was a
different
different
guy.
thing. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a conspiracy.
You didn't
guy.
feel like
This
you were
was
in
the
danger.
conspiracy
Okay.
theory
All right.
guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And it's on the blog. So he will always, you know, hopefully I never get a worse one than that. Like, he will always hold that place. Because I think my screening process has gotten better. That was when I first got divorced. And so I was still new to online dating. I was still figuring it all out. And I think, not that I'm like some seasoned professional now, but I think my screening process of weeding these people out has gotten a lot better.
Hottest date. Have you had the a date where you're like, damn, that was, you know, mama want to take you home, you know?
Yeah. This is where we want
I
to
am
go.
not that kind of girl that
Yeah.
has sex on the first date. Well, yes, actually, and it's in the blog too. It's Mr. Romantic. He was the best first date, hottest first date. He'll get all those qualifiers.
Flying colors.
Yeah.
What did he do right that stood out?
These are things that Phil needs to know.
Phil needs to know this. All right. Well,
Apparently.
let's break it down, like, from
Break
the
it down,
beginning
girl.
to the end. So the very first off, like, we matched on Tinder, and, like, he just set the date up, and I was like, all right, a man with a plan. I like this. So he lived in New Orleans, or still does, and told me where to meet him. All that. There was none of this like, well, where do you want to go? And It was like, hey, I want to try this brunch spot. This is the name of it. This day, this time. I was like,
Very
brunch.
Very
not
assertive.
not late night drinks, but
No,
brunch.
it was brunch.
Wow.
Brunch.
That's
Starting off
bold.
safe.
That's
Yeah.
bold. I would never do that.
Well, here you go, Phil. This is where
Phil-
you're going
Phil
wrong.
Phil
You
doesn't
need
know
to-
what they serve at brunch.
Yeah.
Brunch. What is that, like lemonade and biscuits? Like what? Do they do?
Come on, Phil.
So orange juice.
Up your brunch game. You gotta get it going.
Mimosas.
Let's do it. So yeah, that was the very beginning. Like confidence, set it up, boom. And so I met him in New Orleans. We had brunch, and he was just very charming and asked questions about me, and we sat at the bar eating brunch, drinking. We didn't drink mimosas though. We drank poinsettias. So that was another thing. I was like, oh, fancy. We're getting away from mimosas.
Hey, I'm sorry. I live in the woods. We're in a little shed right now. What is a poinsettia?
A poinsettia. So a mimosa is champagne and orange juice.
Right. I've had those.
And that's like, to me, I don't really care for them because they're so acidic. This is champagne and cranberry juice. So it's less acidic and less tart. So it was perfect.
What time of day are we talking? What's this?
I think I met him at like 11 a.m. or something. I don't remember
Yeah,
for sure.
brunch is like late afternoon.
Yeah, it's not like,
It's like
early.
You know that song "Easy Sunday Morning"?
Yeah.
That's brunch was created because of that song.
For sure.
What did he? Do you remember what he wore?
He wore a light blue button-down shirt and this like cool hat.
He wore a hat.
Like not a fedora type hat, but it was.
Get out of
what's
here.
He was
so
suave,
thrown
man.
off. I'm
he
so
was
thrown
very
off.
Suave.
He wore a hat,
Yeah.
It's
like
relevant.
a circular.
God, what's the name of the hat I'm thinking? It's not a fedora,
top
but
hat?
it's like
Like a
not
bowler
a
hat, a
top
bowler hat.
He totally came in a top hat. No.
Bowler.
Do you have a cane?
hat.
And a
Is he
monocle.
swinging a cane?
He had a monocle. I
What,
was
Mr.
like,
Peanut? You have a cane?
Holy shit!
So what's the spark here? You guys meet at brunch. You hit it off.
we hit it off, and then he took me to an art gallery in the French Quarter.
The same day?
Same day. We finished brunch.
That
we
wasn't the
walked-
plan, right?
No, that wasn't the.
That was
well,
spontaneous.
No. I'm sorry. No, it was. He kind of mentioned when we were planning brunch that there was an art gallery he wanted to check out, and I was like, "Cool, it's New Orleans. Let's go walk around." So we walked to the art gallery and just made out on the corner of the street.
Oh my lord!
In New Orleans, so that was
How
hot.
many poinsettias did you have?
A lot.
Did he come on to you on that?
Oh yeah, but I was giving the signals. Like, girls have signals.
What are those
Keep trying to
signals?
tell you this.
Yeah,
Keep trying to tell you this, my man.
I'm gonna push her face away and make out with this guy.
You want me to tell you my story about him?
Don't
Did they
don't
give
do that.
the signal?
Don't do that.
So anyway, that was the best. And every date with Mr. Romantic after that was always on the same level.
So this sounds like this was the highlight for you. This was the top of this was the cream of the crop.
In some ways.
On the
Goddamn
spectrum.
right it is.
I mean, I don't know. Are we talking 10 dates here? Or,
I want to text
however
this guy
many?
right now.
But within the spectrum of the blog, it sounds like he was kind of the cream of the crop from your experiences of meeting up and showing a bunch of dirt bags versus here's actually a guy who's recognizing me for who I am and
I
saying
wouldn't
all
go
the
that
right
far.
things.
I wouldn't go that far. I mean, he was great at planning dates, and the dates were amazing, and we both agreed that, we weren't looking for a relationship at the time. I wasn't looking for a relationship at the time. He wasn't either. We were both out of relationships, and so we were like, well, we'll have a summer fling.
Like Greece.
Yeah. But back to communication being key, this is what I tell people too. If you're just looking for sex, if you're just looking for a friends with benefit situation, if you're looking for a long-term relationship, be honest about that. Communicate that. Because if this person's wanting a fling and this person's wanting a long-term relationship, that is just gonna implode on itself.
True.
So
But you
we were on the same page. Like, we don't want, long-term. We just want a fling.
Because he wasn't fake.
We were able to be honest about it. Yeah.
Yeah, but he wasn't like falsifying photos of age or any shit to like just to get into your pants. He's,
no,
to get a date with you.
He was not straight up.
He's
yeah.
not
Was this guy a
lying on his
fitness
profile.
model? Was this guy like incredibly hot? Like
I thought so, but
0 to 10.
I
Use
thought he
decimals.
was incredibly hot.
Well, that was going to be my next question.
What?
Like, so you got Mr. Romantic, and then what happens? Why does it go downhill, or did it go downhill?
Well, I mean, we weren't looking for long term, so eventually that's going to fizzle out, right?
So the term it
came. Yeah, let's go back, tie it back in. It came to an end, but I mean, we reconnected later, and we're still friends. But
like when you say
there wasn't
reconnected,
long...
like is it like the text at like 1:01 a.m. like what up, girl?
You up?
What you doing?
No, it was
How you
me.
doing?
I sent a drunken Instagram message, like a really long.
It's Christmas. I know it's Christmas, but I just had 20 poinsettias, and they made me think of you. How you doing? How you doing tonight?
Was that about 3 a.m. you sent that
That's what
Instagram
happens.
message?
That's how babies are born.
I was just thinking about you. What are you
True,
doing?
that's why
What are
she's
you
laughing.
doing right now?
I'm being the best that I can be.
What are you
Phil.
doing?
But see, okay, so on the flip side of it, the guy that I'm dating now, like our first date, it was after during this whole COVID thing, we went and got street tacos to go.
Street
went
tacos
and
from
saw-
where?
Oh, it's over with.
Oh gosh, where was that? It's in Gulfport, El Laguino or something.
Mhm.
I don't know the
It's
name
quick
of it.
you know how quickly that changed from we don't care about your guy anymore. We want to know where the street
Yeah, where
tacos
the
are.
hell
from.
Yeah.
are these tacos?
Where are
Where are
these
those
street tacos?
We should get a taco truck
I will
outside of
text
here.
it to you because these tacos are legit. Like
I think they have a
so
taco
good.
truck now in downtown Ocean Springs.
We'll plug them.
We walked by it several times, but we have not.
I
have
don't
not
know.
partaken in trying it out. So you got the new guy. Now let me ask you this. So there was an absence in the dating blog on Dumpster, and I think when I read it, it was kind of a tribute, like, hey, things are going good, everything's going good. Now, was that with Mr. Romantic, or was that because of the current guy?
Oh no, actually the break wasn't because things were going good. Mr. Romantic and I had taken a break, and I think we had reconnected for a little while in that point. But no, I'd had a stalkerish kind of situation. And there's two parts to this. So one, my mom had already gotten it. She's like, you really need to quit this blog because you're never going to get a date again if guys know you're writing about them. Or you're never going to get a boyfriend or something. And then she was, and then the stalker situation happened. So I was
Holy
like,
shit.
two of these things happened. And I was like, all right, I need to put the blog on ice.
So
Like,
the stalker situation go back to the thing where you're talking about you felt uncomfortable at the date?
oh, this is a totally different guy.
Completely different guy.
Completely different guy.
Look, girls.
Like, yeah. Like,
For
stay
real.
sexy, don't get murdered.
Yeah. Protect your information. For real.
Are you a murderino?
Watch your six.
No, it's just
Okay.
what my friends, they are, so they
Yeah.
tell me that before I go on dates.
I'm a murderino.
What? You're a what? A murderer?
Murderino.
Murderino.
What does that mean?
It's a podcast about girls getting murdered by guys.
What?
Yeah.
This
What are you
might
talking
be
about?
It's a
why.
true crime podcast. Yeah.
Like a
but
real thing, like based on like real
Absolutely.
things?
We're not going to promote other podcasts on this podcast.
I don't know if I want to listen to that.
Sorry.
Well, in my experience,
Sorry.
a stalker just means that he likes you.
No.
Right?
No.
He likes you. That's the one.
How serious
No.
was like? Did you have to get, you know?
Oh, I mean, I didn't have to get like restraining orders or anything like that. So stalker is a
Legal.
little hard word, but I
You
was.
need to back up, dude. You need to
Yeah,
back the fuck off.
it was just really intense, and
Get
he.
up out of my ass.
Yeah, he did. I didn't want to see him
Okay.
anymore, and he didn't take it well, and didn't want to let go. So
Hmm.
it got a little weird for a while. So I
Hmm.
was trying to I think I had even deleted Facebook. I deleted pretty much locked down all the social media I could, deleted stuff, and then also quit doing the blog. I think I even took the blog offline for a little while because I was just trying to like not have
Stay alive.
Yeah, I was just trying to stay alive. But he found a new target and is in a relationship, so I was like, all right, we'll go back to the blog.
Let some other girl deal with
Yeah,
that.
let her deal. That's her problem. I keep hitting this microphone.
Holy shit. Yeah, get some more ice. We need ice. Oh.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Party now.
Oh boy.
I took it off, Phil. I'll go get you some wine.
I don't need any ice. I'm good to go.
Okay.
I want to meet the romantic guy. Like, I'm intrigued.
Well, that's what I forgot to say earlier. So yeah, I mean, like, the dates were great. He's great. We're friends.
I'll give you some pointers.
We're friends now. But like that emotional availability is not there, and
right.
So that's what I wanted to tell you. So in contrast, the guy I'm dating now, like our first date was the tacos, and we went and sat in the marina and sat on the seawall and ate our tacos, and it was an amazing date. And because like that connection was there, and that attraction was there, and all had all the things that I'm looking for. And so it's not even just about like these great shows you put on.
It's more realistic.
And it's like just connecting with someone and paying attention to
the guy in New Orleans, though. I mean, that's a very surreal, living out the fantasy, like showing up like you're in a erotic city,
erotic city.
Well,
dirty ass city.
What?
I apologize to the residents of New Orleans.
And the people that love her.
New Orleans is dirty. It's a very dirty and erotic
dirty.
city.
They could do better. They got to fix those pumps.
they could do better.
Yeah, but I mean, like I'm hearing that as like, here's two totally different approaches to engaging with someone.
Yeah.
And I'm married, but before I was married, I went, I ventured, there's the, let's go to a completely different town that you don't know anything. And it's very, it's fantastical because it's like everything's an adventure, right?
Yeah.
And going to New Orleans every time it's an adventure. You don't know if you're going to live or die or survive or, get tetanus or what.
Hepatitis, something, whatever.
Yeah, you might, or worse. And but there's that idea of like going to a different town and you having these outings with this person, and that's how you get to know them, by going on these long walks in these parks or whatever it may have been, versus let's go to the beach or let's go to the pier, let's eat our tacos, and let's talk real deal Holyfield here.
Real deal
Holyfield. What are we looking at? Are we talking about more kids? We're talking about settling down? You talking about moving in? Those kind of like real world concepts.
I could see that.
Versus,
one's kind of an escape.
I'm just trying to get my kicks off on being the damsel in distress or whatever from the romantic novel I read when I was like 18. With the guy on the ship. You remember those novels in the grocery store? You go to check out Adele Champs.
The Harlequin romance novels.
He's like on a boat, and he's like holding her, and you can like see her nipples through her shirt. She's like all passed out.
Yeah.
And he's like Prince. He's like the pirate.
Wasn't
or whatever.
Like Fabio always the model on that?
Right.
Yeah.
He's a good-looking guy.
Phil, I mean, I don't know if that helps you any, because it's like you could go to brunch or you can get street tacos and go to the seawall. It depends on the girl.
When you said street tacos on a seawall, like I feel like I could be a complete dirt bag, and that would be a magical moment. Like sitting on a seawall, the waves are crashing up against the.
I think what Natasha's saying is it's going to take a special lady to go to the seawall with you and eat tacos.
Because I think when you take a girl on a date, like the way my mind works, it's like it's the niceness of your shirt that's going to decide it for you.
You think the shirt is it?
Yeah, because I feel like if I have a really nice shirt on,
Well, I mean, if she's a materialistic girl, then yeah, probably.
I'm shallow.
Yeah.
Phil, what your worst date so far and your best date so far?
Oh yeah, let's
Okay.
hear it.
Oh, okay.
Or did you already, or was the one that you told earlier, was that what your worst? That was your worst one so far?
Let's calm down.
Let's settle in. Everybody
I
gets.
met up with this girl. She said,
Is it a different girl than the one that like called her friend
I
and
don't
was
want to
like,
get
I
into
got a bail?
specifics.
No names.
Calm
no
down.
names.
This,
I don't know.
This
We're
may or
talking
may
about
not-
same people.
this may or may not have been a long time ago. I met up with this girl, right? And she's like, I'm at this bar. I'm sitting by myself. I was looking at your picture. I wish you would come hang out with me. And I was like, I got a really nice shirt, ironed, hung up, ready to effing roll. I got some True Religion $180 jeans ready to go. I put them on. I rolled out, right?
Yeah.
I meet up. We're having drinks. It's like a weekday. She's got nothing to do. I got nothing to do. Everything's popping off. Conversation's going great. She's good looking. I'm a 6.8. Everything's going good, right? And we're sitting at this bar full of like 45, 50-year-old guys because they're watching, I think it was Thursday Night Football.
Mm-hmm.
We're sitting there vibing, and we're talking about stuff. And she says, what the hell did she say? Do you want to see the work that I had done? And I was like, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Well, she takes her shirt and she pulls it down.
Are we still talking about the worst date you've been on?
No,
I know. Right now, this doesn't sound so
this
bad.
is shocking. this was a shocking thing. She pulls her boobs out.
And right there in the middle of the bar.
Right. And we're, there's 30, 40 people in this bar. Like it's full.
She's proud of them.
And it's 80% dudes. She pulls her boobs out and she's like, what do you think? And I'm like shocked.
They're
And
boobs.
There's dudes all at the bar and they're like, yo, and they're taking picture, video, and all this stuff, and I'm freaking out. And she's like, do you want Natasha? I was like, no, I'm wildly uncomfortable. I wish you would put them away, like lock them up.
Please put those back
I'm
in.
panicking right now, and everybody's freaking out, and the bartenders come over, and they're women, and they're like, hey, can we talk to you for a minute? And I'm like, yeah, we're getting kicked the fuck out of here. This has to be some kind of health code violation. Right? Has to be a health code violation because they're serving wings and things like that, and finger foods. And they're like, where'd you get those done? Those are so nice. Holy shit.
Oh, no. The waitress is like, I want some pointers. I need to get some bigger tips.
Yeah. But anyway, she was asking me, like, do you want there's a hotel room right there. Do you want to get a hotel room? I was like, and I was wildly uninterested at that point. That was probably a pretty good date in most dudes' eyes. But
not for you. See how it's so different from person to person.
Yeah, and I ghosted her after that because I was terrified. Like it freaked me out.
Oh.
Yeah, you had posted something about trying to fish people's opinion on ghosting.
Yeah.
What was the verdict on that?
Oh, just like I suspected, everybody has different opinions on what constitutes ghosting.
At what point is it, kosher?
In my personal opinion, I think if you met on the apps, you're just chit-chatting, you haven't really set up a plan to meet or whatever, and conversation just fades off. That's not ghosting. But a lot of people be like, oh, I was talking to this person and then they just ghosted me. And it's like, well, you didn't even really meet them. That doesn't really count.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
It's like you're trying to find some common ground or something, right?
Right. Conversation just never really took off, basically, is the way I look at it. Or, somebody didn't step up to set up a date, so it just fell away. That's not really ghosting to me. That instance where you did meet somebody in person, but at the same time, she had to know that didn't go well.
Yeah, you've been ghosted.
I've been ghosted 14 times.
Oh,
whoa,
man.
And I'm not proud,
Do they know what
but
you
I
look
have
like?
been a ghoster.
Right? You know
No,
what
no, no,
my
wait.
shirt closet looks like?
So, Phil, is this like after you have met them, then they ghosted you, or like talking?
It's half and half. Yeah,
Half and half.
So like talking, they'll ghost me.
Mm-hmm.
And this is after like 5 days of solid conversation.
Yeah.
They'll ghost the shit
Did you
out of
ask
me.
them out in those 5 days? Like, hey, let's go get a drink. Let's go to brunch. Let's go get a coffee.
Most of the time, no.
That's
'cause
why
I'm
they
still-
ghosted you. You got to ask them out. If the date hasn't been asked in 5 days, bye.
Oh,
How dare you?
Look, I'm
I-
changing your life.
I
Like
just-
this
It's just like old
this
times.
is life changing.
it's like when the girl used to give you your number. You're like, there's like a time
you
period
have
there.
a
It's
time
like-
period, man.
like, if
You're
he's
on a
serious,
clock.
He's
Yeah.
he's gonna like call me and to
Yeah.
make an appointment to go out next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not gonna sit around on my ass for 2 weeks waiting for you to call.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially, that was one of the first things that like kind of blew my mind. It's like when he like, started telling me about all these apps, and it's like, you're looking at like 20,000, candidates, and it's like, how do you even like filter through all the noise?
Yeah,
it's just
it's a
like there's
lot.
all this swiping, and I'm just like, just talk to a human being. It's just like, why you have to, filter them out based on credentials and all this? Just like, obviously you talk to them in real life, it's like you can immediately ascertain if they're crazy or not, and
Or if there's no chemistry or no
if there's
attraction.
no
Yeah.
I mean, it's
That,
like,
but that's where
yeah.
that's where the online stuff muddles it, because like you don't have that instant like no, like you're like, oh, maybe
like, we
this
need to
person.
do a video conference
Yeah.
here. Like, do you guys Zoom?
Look,
Hey, some of those apps now do have like videos where you
Probably.
can post video of yourself.
Oh yeah, he just
and-
found out about Snapchat the other night. He's like, what do you know about Snapchat? I'm like, I don't know. It deletes itself after like 15 seconds, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm old. It's like last time I looked at it, that's what it did. It's like, and then the dude that was with us at the bar was like, no. Facebook bought it. They don't do that anymore. It could last for forever, and blah blah blah.
Well,
and
I'm like
just-
your conversation. You can make it last 24 hours, but and
it
that's
still self deletes.
yeah, it self
Yeah, it's like
deletes after like
it's
a certain
what's
amount of
the,
time.
it's like, I don't understand.
Because
I don't
it's for married men and cheaters. No. Nah. I don't like, that's also one of my red flags, is they're like, let's talk on Snapchat, and I'm like, bye. Like I don't if a guy comes to me and only wants to communicate through Snapchat, I'm out.
What proof is in the pudding?
But some women love communicating on Snapchat, so it's different for everybody.
I've learned so much in the last 30
I've learned so
minutes.
much. I've learned that your worst was your best, and your best was your worst.
Tonight, I will most likely walk into the ocean.
No,
first.
look, I'm gonna help you.
I bet you $100 tonight, if you went to the bar, you would like come out with an awesome heroic
right.
story.
It is 8:45.
All
Is there
right.
anything that you want to
We need a plug.
What
The
do we
Dumpster
plug in?
Chronicles.
I don't even remember the URL. I'm sorry. It's like
We'll post
Chronicles,
We'll post it in
We're
the
gonna
comments.
post-
Chronicles
we're gonna
of
post
the
in the
Dating
description.
Yeah,
Dumpster
we'll post
Fire.
But is there anything else you want to plug?
No, that's it. Like, I mean,
Cash App, you have Venmo.
Oh hell yeah!
Good for hire, doula.
Wait, no, this
Yeah,
might go bad.
Not an active doula
It's
anymore.
not that kind of dating blog.
When's the next? But we won't see another Dumpster Fire Chronicle article anytime soon, right? Because you said things were going good now.
Well,
So
yeah, I'm
don't
dating.
expect one.
I'm dating someone right now, but I am working on. I have like some retroactive posts that I was planning on doing from when I took a break till I started back up. There was a couple of dates, a couple guys I was seeing in there that I was going to write posts about. I have one coming up in October because I want to talk about ghosting and zombieing and,
What's zombieing?
Zombieing is when somebody ghosts you and then pops back up.
No!
later.
Oh, what? What?
happened to you?
Yeah.
That was me.
Yeah.
Sorry, I probably blew the fucking
Yeah,
speakers
everybody's
out.
ears.
Sorry.
I didn't know there was a term for
Yeah,
that.
that's zombieing. They ghost you, and then when they like feel a little lonely or whatever, they pop back
What
up.
up, girl?
What up, girl?
I'm sitting here watching Dexter,
I
thinking about
miss
you.
you.
Trash bags.
Yep,
Yep.
yep.
Trash bags.
This is why the block feature is your friend.
Wow.
Just
Back in
block 'em.
1995, we watched that movie. Angelina Jolie.
Well,
Not to be confused with the re-return that I jokingly did.
So
for
we
Mr.
we got to wrap it up. Is that right? Because we got the babysitter.
she has responsibility.
Sorry.
She's not like us.
Natasha, she gave us the green light for the juicy bits earlier.
Holy shit.
And we never got into the juicy bits.
Uh-oh.
Do we got time for juicy bits?
We've got some time for juicy
Oh!
bits. Okay.
Them kids can put themselves to sleep.
Yes, they can. If you teach them right. So, I think I was trying to like hit on that earlier, asking you what was your hottest encounter, because he hasn't had any yet.
No, none. What?
It's a hard life.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
mean, but
man.
from a female perspective, it's completely opposite.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
you hold all the power.
Absolutely, we do. Yeah. I think the hottest was. What are y'all laughing at?
You control the floodgates.
Look at that confidence she's got. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I know. That's why I wanted to.
Because
have her
it's
on
not
here.
a secret. Like,
Yeah. No, I mean, can you imagine meeting Natasha in a dark alley? I mean, it's like you are defeated before before speaking anything.
So hard trying to read a situation with a woman. You know what I mean? Especially when you first meet her.
Yeah.
Like, it's so hard to say, like, should I make this move? Like, I'm one step away from being an assaulter versus
I mean, I don't-
Mr. Romantic.
I don't envy you guys right now at all with the, this. Yeah, like.
Yeah, you make one wrong move, you're on the front page of the paper, and it's a problem.
No, I did date one guy. He turned out to be a total scumbag later on. But, I mean, he was like, I won't kiss you without asking you first. And I was like, oh, that's hot. Like, that's really sweet.
You like
and then,
what?
like, when he went in for the kiss, he was like, can I kiss you now? And I was like, oh, yeah. So it was like, I guess maybe he pre-framed that, like,
Yeah, that's nice.
But, I mean, he turned out to be a jerk for other reasons, but that was nice.
That seemed like a jerk move.
Yeah,
Like
I think.
a premeditated jerk move.
Yeah.
I'm going to write that down.
Nah, don't, because like I said, he turned out to be a jerk later. Hottest. What was I going back to that?
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I don't want to get into that. Yeah.
Okay.
What? Hey, so will you agree unequivocally right now to do a second podcast with us?
Sure, I could
Because
do that.
we could totally go another 4 hours. On this.
He wants you to come back 6 months from now so he can compare notes.
Okay, sure. Let's do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably be wearing a top hat, wear a cane and a tie, and
Gonna look like
And
Mr.
he's
Peanut.
gonna be a pro on brunch. He's gonna be like,
I'm
let
gonna
me
have
tell
an
you about
orange
this
suit.
brunch
He's
menu.
gonna be like, Mitchell, I had eggs Benedict. You know what eggs Benedict is?
Don't
Oh my
skimp
God,
on
it's
those
awesome.
eggs, Benny.
You know, there's a salad fork and a regular fork.
They bring you biscuits, and you can have lunch at the same time. It's crazy.
Keep the fork on the right side.
And women love it. They love the brunch.
Mitchell Grudge, thank you for being here. Natasha Woodard, thank you for being here.
so
Thank you
much.
for having
Dumpster
me,
Fire
guys.
Chronicles. Go look it up. It's really entertaining. If you need a doula, hit her up.
She knows some.
Comment.
Yeah, I know some. Don't hit me up for that. I'm out of that game.
Okay,
But she knows
hit her
the
up.
ins and the outs.
Yeah. I can help you.
If you want to pay triple, hit her up.
Hey, yeah, there we go.
Or dating advice on what to look out for.
Dude, I swear to God, I'm gonna write a blog on what I learned tonight because
Hey, maybe we can we'll have counter blogs. The male side of the dating dumpster and the female side of the dating
I think
dumpster.
it's pretty one-sided.
yeah,
I think we just need to listen to what the
yeah, it's
I think you
double-sided.
just need to listen. I don't know what I'm saying. I think you need to listen to what the.
Because my
You know
thing
what
is like
Natasha's saying.
I'm like just drop money in front of her, right, and then pick it up and be like, oh, I'm sorry, that's my walking around money, and then you got her right, like that you like
Oh, this $20 bill fell out of my pocket. Let me impress
this-
you.
that's just
Look
my
at my
walking.
nice polo shirt, by the way.
That's not even
I ironed
a
my polo shirt
fifth
for you
of
tonight.
what I have. I'm very wealthy. Very successful. Thanks, Natasha.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
having
so
me.
much. Thank you so much.
Episode 6 in the books.